Welcome to Space News from Ad Astra. I'm your host, Swapna Krishna. Let's break down what happened in space, space flight, and space science news this week. We're going to talk about one of our solar system's moons hiding a secret ocean beneath its surface, new photos of Jupiter's moon Io sending volcanic plumes into space, the last photo we may ever get of the Mars helicopter, and yet another lander being sent to the moon. Let's start this week with Saturn's Death Star moon Mimas, which scientists revealed may have recently formed a subsurface ocean. You may be familiar with Saturn's moon Mimas because of what it looks like. The small moon with an icy crust has an uncanny resemblance to a certain ominous spaceship from a galaxy far, far away. The little moon, and it's little, just roughly 250 miles across, and isn't really big enough to even be spherical, it's more of an ovalish. It's the smallest and innermost of Saturn's moons, and the surface is pockmarked with craters. According to NASA, the impact that created Mimas' most distinctive crater likely almost broke the moon apart. The crater covers a third of the moon's face. Now, scientists have published a paper in the journal Nature in which they analyze Mimas' orbital mechanics to try and figure out what is going on underneath the surface. Mimas' orbit is weird. While it is tidally locked to Saturn, meaning that, like our own moon, one side of it always faces its host planet, there are some wobbles in its orbit. According to the Cassini spacecraft's data, sometimes Mimas' rotation is faster than average, other times it's slower. Scientists tried to reconcile what we know about Mimas' orbit and rotation, and the thing that explained most of the features of the planet's orbital mechanics is a subsurface ocean located 12 to 18 miles below its icy surface. Modeling indicates that the ocean is only a few million years old. It could be as old as 25 million or as young as 2 million years, which in cosmic years means that this ocean is very, very recent. The question is, why don't we see any evidence of the subsurface ocean, which apparently comprises at least half of Mimas' volume, on the icy surface? After all, Saturn's moon Enceladus also has a subsurface ocean, and we see jets from that emerge occasionally out into space. Scientists think it's because the icy crust on Mimas is so thick that water underneath the surface hasn't penetrated that icy crust yet. That's why it's been a mystery until now. Mimas isn't the only solar system moon in the news this week. We have the sharpest photos of Jupiter's moon Io that we've gotten in a decade, thanks to NASA's Juno spacecraft. You can see Io here in this picture, and it's a volcanically active moon and the third largest of Jupiter's 4 Galilean moons. It's got hundreds of volcanic eruptions going on, which is why the surface is so smooth. Unlike Mimas's, it's constantly renewing itself. The line on this photo is the planet's terminator, separating its night side from its day side, so it's not like it actually physically exists on the planet. It's just that the right side of the planet, from our perspective, is experiencing daytime. Usually it would look more like this to us, but the reflection of sunlight from Jupiter is actually illuminating Io's night side, which is why you can see both sides of the planet like this. The details in this picture are astounding. You can see lava lakes with islands in them, mountains in their shadows, and even an active volcanic plume, which is hard to see, but we'll get a better view in a second. One cool thing NASA does is that they release images like this to the public and then ask anyone who wants to process the photo and then share it to upload it back to NASA. Scientific discoveries can be made through processing a photo a certain way. For example, one cool one is this enhanced false color image from Navaneeth Krishnan. It makes it a lot easier to pick out Io's surface features, especially those on the night side. But I love this incredible photo from Thomas Tomopoulos, which gives the moon an incredible depth. And this particular crop highlights the volcanic plume at the top of the image and makes it much easier to see. Moving from moons to asteroid, could the asteroid Bennu be a fragment of a larger ancient ocean world? I promised you all an update on OSIRIS-REx's sample return mission from the near-Earth asteroid Bennu, and now we have one. You may recall the last time I mentioned it, the sample container had finally been opened after the team struggled with some stuck bolts. They've had time with the open container now, and Dante Loretta, the principal investigator of the mission, says that after some analysis, Bennu might not even be really an asteroid at all. It might be a piece of an ancient planet. In an interview with Space.com, Loretta told reporter Leonard David that the team is working on their analysis of the asteroid sample. And one thing that has surprised him is that the sample appears to indicate a phosphate crust, We have never seen this in a meteorite before. Loretta said that his hypothesis is that, I quote, asteroid Bennu might be a fragment of an ocean world. Of course, he emphasized that this is just speculation. It's preliminary, but it does fit what the team has found. Over the next few months, we're probably going to get inundated with the preliminary analysis from this Bennu sample material, and I, for one, am really excited to see that happen. In sad news, let's talk about Ingenuity. You might remember a couple of weeks ago, we said goodbye to our little space helicopter that could. The helicopter Mars Ingenuity was only designed to fly 5 missions over 30 days. Instead, it managed 72 flights over 3 years. On its last flight on January 18, 2024, it came down hard at an angle and broke one of its rotors, so it can no longer fly. Engineers at JPL are still working with that little helicopter, but the mission is officially over because it can't fly. Now, the rover Perseverance has spotted its broken friend. The two arrived on the red planet together, landing in the Jezero crater in February 2021. On February 4, 2024, Perseverance snapped this photo with Mastcam Z. It's sad and lonely on that hill, but until Perseverance moves out of communication range, we'll still keep tabs on that little helicopter. It's been a hard month for saying goodbye to spacecraft. We may have also said goodbye to Japan's moonlander SLIM forever. Last week I talked about how Japan's moonlander SLIM has shut down after getting a brief charge to its solar cells. But before it signed off, it sent back one last haunting photo of the lunar surface. This eerie photo features the sloped sides of the Scioli crater with shadows surrounding it as the sun sets on the lunar surface. Night on the moon lasts 2 weeks and can get as cold as negative 200 degrees Fahrenheit, which SLIM isn't designed for. We'll see if it manages to wake back up. It's easy to forget that NASA doesn't just study other planets and the greater universe. The organization also takes a close look at our own planet. That's why the agency launched the PACE mission this week. It's a brand new satellite that'll take an intimate look at microscopic particles and marine life to understand the smallest of our planet's ecosystems. PACE stands for Plankton, Aerosol, Cloud, and Ocean Ecosystem, and the mission lifted off aboard a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket at 1:33 a.m. Eastern on Thursday from Cape Canaveral, Florida. The mission is to study how phytoplankton can serve as indicators for ocean health and global warming. It's not really a mission that focuses on one thing. It's not just atmosphere or ocean or land, it's all those things. The scientists working on the mission are hoping to make the invisible world visible and understand how that invisible world interacts with the world we see with our own eyes. Another big launch is currently scheduled for next week. SpaceX will launch the Intuitive Machines lunar lander on February 14th at 12:57 a.m. Eastern Time. If you want to watch, you should be able to do that on NASA's YouTube channel. This lander is part of NASA's CLPS, which is an initiative to partner with commercial companies to figure out ways to deliver payloads to the lunar surface as part of the Artemis program. If the Nova-C lander successfully makes it to the moon, which is a big if, remember what happened to Astrobotic's Peregrine lander, which was also part of the same program? But the landing is scheduled to happen on February 22nd. If, and again, if, because it's not even close to a sure thing, Intuitive Machines successfully lands Nova-C on the moon, that will be the first private company to successfully land a spacecraft on the moon. Speaking of SpaceX, we're quickly approaching the next flight of Starship. The company aims to test its super heavy lift rocket and spaceship sometime this month. For more on Starship, check out my explainer video. The company is just waiting on a license from the FAA, but the company did share a picture of super heavy boosters recently. The first test launch of Starship occurred last April and was relatively successful for a test launch. The company initiated a self-destruct after the first stage failed to separate. The second test in November saw a successful first stage separation, but ended after 8 minutes rather than the 90 minutes the company had planned. Starship isn't without controversy. SpaceX's founder and CEO is constantly in the news, but even beyond that, there are real environmental concerns about the launch. The first launch flung an unprecedented amount of debris and dust for miles around the launch site. But also, it's important to remember that Starship is crucial to NASA's plans to land on the moon with Artemis 3. HLS, which is supposed to take astronauts to the moon's surface, is contracted to SpaceX and is just a variation of Starship. So getting Starship up and running is important to us if we want to land humans on the moon by the end of the decade. NASA recently announced delays to its Artemis program. For more on that, check out my video. Partially because of the challenges its partners were having with hardware, including SpaceX's Starship. It's complicated. And that is the space news I wanted to highlight this week. See you next week.